Indeed, it was very nice to hear ma'am talking about different models that can be implemented in the local government. Now, moving ahead, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Froilan Grate, Executive Director GAIA, to speak about the opportunities for future engagement with GAIA network. Over to you, Froy.
Thank you, Nirmala. Can I have the other microphone? Okay, so while they're getting the microphone, standing between you and the cultural performance, after this will be closing officially. But before we end, no, we're only closing the conference, the conference part of this, and we still have the. So it's the light or the height? Okay, light. Okay, light. Um, anyway, so we're only closing the conference part, and we still have the study tour tomorrow. But even after that, we hope that the space that we've created today, the past 2 days, will never be closing. And with this, I'd like to share with you some opportunities to ensure that this doesn't end here. No, that this doesn't end in Bangalore. Next slide, please. So first, I'd just like to share that you are all welcome to the Gaia Network. Next slide. Gaia Network right now is composed of 138 members across 24 countries. This is only in the Asia Pacific region. Around the world, we're more than 1,000 members, but in Asia, we are in 24 countries, and we have 6 national and sub-regional national alliances. That's in the Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, India, the Zero Waste Himalaya, and we hope to build more in other places. So if you're interested, do let us know. And the first space to engage is if you want to be a Gaia member. Trish, please raise your hand. Trish is over there. She's our network engagement officer. Please reach out to her if you want to become a Gaia member. It's a very simple process, and she can guide you through that. Next. Aside from being a member, we also create spaces like this, for sub-regional engagement. And I would like to take this time now to share this with you. Again, this is an invitation. This is a way for us to continue engaging, because Gaia's strength is when people come together, like what we've seen in the past 2 days. So these are the spaces where we could come together. Next. The first one, looking at reuse as an issue, we have facilitated the creation of the Asia Reuse Consortium, where we bring governments, NGOs, and social enterprises to come together and advocate for reuse as a solution to plastic pollution. So if you're interested, reach out. Next. We've shared with you the Zero Waste Cities Network. We have here the officials from the Zero Waste Network Philippines, the first organized Zero Waste Cities Network, but we have members in other places. Now, if you're interested to have your city officials be part of this network so they could learn from each other, this is another avenue. Next. We also have, next, the Zero Waste Youth, sorry, come back. Of course, it is important to engage the youth, and there are many groups working with them already. And this is a dedicated space where we try to help them grow as leaders. So if you are working with youth, if you have a youth arm, we would love for you to be part of the Asia Zero Waste Youth Network. Next. Every January, we are celebrating the International Zero Waste Month. No? There are there are other groups who are trying to co-opt to use the name Zero Waste. And there are other examples being touted as zero waste. But this is our chance to really claim what is zero waste for us and to highlight the amazing work that's happening on the ground. And of course, it's a year-round thing, but every January, we just really want to put a spotlight on zero waste as a solution. So we encourage you to participate this year. Next. This January was the second time that it was an International Zero Waste Month, and we've had more than 300 events across 63 cities. No? And these are just the Gaia and member events. No other partners have been organizing their own. So imagine more than 300 events putting a spotlight on the solutions as well as the issues that we are still facing in 19 countries. And next year, we hope that you could participate and bring your own. No? It's a seminar, a composting training, whatever. Just participate and become part of the global celebration of zero waste, the kind of zero waste that we want the world to see. Next. We also have the Zero Waste Academy. This is both an online thing and an in-person thing. There are several courses here. The first one was implementing zero waste program, and we've had several graduates here. I'm seeing some of them. If you want to join, there's a website, the Zero Waste Academy. There's a training on organics and a few other things. So if you're interested, or if you want to offer your own courses, no, for other members to participate in, the Zero Waste Academy is a network platform for all of us. Next. Another avenue, every January 6th, has been designated as Refuse Single-Use Day. Someone mentioned a while ago that maybe part of our commitment is not to use single-use plastic bottles. And we have a special day just to really spotlight that problem. No, it's every January 6th because it's the start of the Zero Waste Month to highlight that a clear barrier from achieving real zero waste are single-use plastic. No, so if you can organize something on every January 6th for the Refuse Single-Use Day. Next. Okay. Next. Next, please. Of course, we're also spotlighting, we won't be GAIA if we're not talking about incineration as a false solution, as a problem. So every June 3rd is the International Day of Action Against Incineration. So if you are facing this issue, or if you currently have an incineration, or if you have a current fight, this is a day to put a spotlight, no, in solidarity with all other communities that are facing the same threat of incineration. Next. So these are some of the pictures this year for the celebration of the International Day Against Incineration. Next. If you want more spaces to engage with other GAIA members, GAIA Asia Pacific has several work groups for right now on zero waste cities that includes reuse, organics, and model building. You can join the Asia Pacific Zero Waste Cities work group, or the false solutions, looking at chemical recycling, incineration, just transition as a special look at waste pickers and waste workers, and plastic policy, especially in the context of the global plastics treaty negotiations that are happening right now. Next. Again, GAIA is about the membership, no? And GAIA is about diversity of the membership. We have seen that over the past 2 days, no? For example, questions like, why are we using sawdust in our composting? So in a city where you have 44,000 people in a small space and all of their food waste are, of course, wet waste, there's no space to get leaves, and sawdust is the only option. That is what's being used. Of course, in other places, that's not practical. That's not what's needed. No, they don't have cow dung. They don't have other resources. That's the beauty of the Gaia network. Again, different models exist in different contexts. Groups have been innovating based on available resources that are available on the ground. By the way, just to ensure, the cancer around the concern around cancer and sawdust is especially concerning for those working in wood manufacturing, no? Because the concern is it's very fine particles. You inhale it, it's carcinogenic. It's carcinogenic level 1, similar to alcohol and the sun, right? So meaning it may, especially if you work for wood carving where you inhale it, but in composting, we haven't done the research, no? So we're not sure. But again, that's a value of this space because we're being asked these questions, and it's a way for us to improve our systems. That is the beauty of the Gaia network, where our diversity is a way for us to learn from each other and improve the work that we're doing on the ground, while recognizing that context is very different in many places, and we have to recognize that different groups are working on different contexts. Next. I know we've heard a lot of amazing presentations, and many of you have been asking where to get the presentations. It's now available on the website. You can visit the Organics Congress microsite. All the presentations are there, and you can access it easily. Please use it responsibly. No, within Gaia, our principle is that everything is copyleft. There's no copyright because our goal is to spread knowledge, right? But please don't use it to justify incineration. So use it the right way. So this is the website, and we'll send the link later. Next. But we've seen a lot of our work that's very local. And the question for us is, there is definitely value. Change is possible, change is happening at the local level. But the reality is that the global spaces, there are things that are happening that we have to engage in, and we have to use the work that we're doing to leverage and to influence that and to contribute to that. No? So I won't, this won't take long, but I would like to highlight some of these opportunities, because this is really a moment for us to link our local and national work. Because even if we don't connect, no, at some point, these global processes would have an impact on the work that we are doing. And if you don't engage, the impact might be a negative one. So some of the opportunities, next slide. If you are participating in COP, no, we have a side event there looking at methane reduction and environmental justice, and with clear recommendations, no, for the global methane pledge. So Mahesh will be part of that, and a few others. So if you are joining the COP, please join this panel. Next. Shibu and a few others have mentioned this, but I wanted to highlight this because, again, the consequences of us not engaging might be detrimental to the work that we are doing. There is now a global momentum on methane and the waste sector. No? We have seen, for example, in COP26, more than 150 countries have endorsed the global methane pledge. No? And that's not all countries. India is not a signatory, and a few others, but 150 countries is significant. There's a lot of interest. Top 30 countries are expected to submit their second NDCs, and this is an opportunity for us to make sure that waste is part of that. No? When we did scoping of all the NDCs, any of those currently does not include waste as a component. No? So this is an opportunity for us to engage with our governments. Beyond this conference, so beyond the work that we're doing, this is an opportunity for us. No? And as a consequence of both the Global Methane Pledge and the new round of submissions of NDCs, we are expecting new financial flows into the sector. And if waste is not part of the conversation, the consequence is that waste will not get the financial resources to to move forward the work that you are doing. So again, it is important that while we're doing the local work, we are connecting this, and we are contributing this to the global spaces. Next. So another development is at COP28, the US and a few other countries launched the Lowering Organic Waste Methane Partnership, or Low Methane Partnership, with this ambition: at least 1 million metric tons of annual waste sector reduction before 2030, working with 40 subnational jurisdictions, and the goal is to unlock over 10 billion in public and private investment. So the question for you is, where do you want the 10 billion to go? Do you want the likes of the US, Saudi Arabia, or a few other donor countries to decide only on their own? Or do we use our knowledge, our experience for the past 20, in Jyoti's case, 50 years, to actually shape this, to ensure that this goes into the kind of solutions that we have just been talking over the past 2 days? No? Next. And we have a tool. No, we collectively developed the environmental justice principle as a tool towards just transition in the waste sector. And our invitation for all of you is to use this as a tool to work with your governments, whether at the sub-national or the national level, and to ensure that we stop putting resources in false solutions or end-of-pipe solutions like landfills and incinerators, and to ensure that organics are not going into this. Next. So we'll just review. I won't go through all of them, but I'd like to spotlight 3 of them and some of the policy opportunities for each of these 3 principles. Again, we believe this could be a powerful tool, and the reason why I want to close with this, because this is an invitation for us to really use this as our tool to help drive the conversation and move it to the direction that we want it. So next slide. So on principle number one, planetary boundaries to ensure intergenerational equity, some of the policies that are out there. So number one, we've seen some of you told this as an example in your stories, the prevention of organic waste at every stage from production, transportation, and consumption. No? So we've looked at, for example, today, food loss versus food waste, depending on at what point did it happen. But we're looking at stopping or preventing food waste or organic waste in all these stages. Food rescue as one element. No, I've done a bit of scoping with some of you, and we've seen that in many countries, food rescue, food banking is still a very small work. No, not many groups are utilizing it. It's still in a way experimental. So could really be an opportunity to be included and recycling of organic materials through composting or biodigesters. So these are some of the things that we hope could be integrated in like in the NDCs of our respective governments. Next, what is unacceptable for us? Methane to carbon swap, meaning there are some people who say we need to reduce carbon, and the solution is will emit methane, no? Or vice versa. So incineration, RDFs, waste co-firing, and other thermal techs are not acceptable solutions. And we need to really be putting forward that there are acceptable and better solutions out there. No? And we know the reasons. I won't go through all of these reasons. And the past few days have really been about all of this. Next. Next is principle number two. I think we've heard from the waste pickers and the waste workers here. And one way to put in practice principle number two is to ensure that waste pickers and waste workers are not only present, that they're able to meaningfully participate, contribute, and shape the conversation. No? Recognizing that they are the most vulnerable and oftentimes their voices are not being considered. And we need to put these principles in practice in our individual work, in our cities, in our national advocacy work. Next. So some of the checklists that we could consider, again, this is a guide for all of us, but we have groups here like Hasirudala, SMS, and a few others who've been working with them. No, and again, the value of the GAIA network is that we're able to learn from each other. So feel free to reach out if you need more. But checklist is one. We have to know, no, who are the waste pickers and waste workers in places that we're working with, build capacities of government to engage with them, design and develop recycling systems that build upon and strengthen existing informal sector rather than displacing it. No? Because this is happening already. We've seen privatization, for example, that mechanizes collection, but often at the expense of informal waste pickers and waste workers. Next, ensure that autonomy and aspirations, of waste pickers are accounted and develop a just transition framework in the waste sector with specific measures, no, not something that is ambiguous or all motherhood statements. Next. So the last principle I'd like to highlight is principle number 5, which is to support holistic solutions through systems change. No? We have highlighted that before, that management, manage men and manage me, because it all starts with us. But all of us in this room are doing our part already. And yet the problem is still there because the problem is systemic, right? It's not an and or thing. We have to manage ourselves and we have to push towards changing systems change. We could all refuse straws. We could all compost our waste. But it really wouldn't make a difference if the system is not changing. But our individual actions could be prompt, no, or pressure to change the system as a way to show that it can be done. No? So encourage policymakers and practitioners not to work in isolation. I think in the first panel, we've heard that around how we have stereotypes of NGOs not coordinating with their government agencies, or the idea is that we do not work in isolation. And hopefully, the past 2 days has been a space to start that. No? Next, to ensure that key success indicators for projects and finance have multidimensional criteria. Sometimes they just measure how much ton of waste have you diverted, but what are the other social impacts of the work that we're doing? No, what are the other environmental impacts of the work that we're doing? A quick survey: how many of you have measured your waste diversion? How much waste you've prevented? Raise your hand. How many of you have measured the greenhouse gases that was prevented by that waste diversion? So there's a few, but much less than those who raise their hand. So there's really a way to look at the same work that we're doing, no, but in a multidimensional lens. Okay. Next, encourage alliance building and joint strategy development, and implement waste projects in collaboration with civil society and government. Okay. Next. So again, we invite you, your organizations, to use the framework as a tool to strengthen our advocacy and our engagement with our governments and policymakers, both local, national, and at the global spaces. Next. So if you need more resources, we have these resources. Again, this presentation is available online, so you don't need to copy them, but they are available for all of us. And to put everything in practice, next, I would like again to highlight this opportunity that the Zero Waste Cities Network have launched this Zero Waste Cities Pledge. The context of this is in the Paris Agreement. When the US pulled out of the Paris Agreement, there was a gap, no, in terms of if national governments are not stepping up, what's the role of local governments? Because just because one country or one president doesn't like something doesn't mean that the whole country is not doing anything. So if there is a gap in the national leadership, there is a space for cities to step up. And this is the context of the Cities Metin Pledge, especially for many of you who have been doing this already. So to put this in practice, we'd like to invite everyone to work with your cities to sign the Cities Pledge. The goal is to reduce methane emission from waste by 70% by 2030. And that's not very ambitious because you've all been doing the solutions already. And just to have a symbolic moment, I'd like to invite Ms. Gemma Doble of the Zero Waste Cities Network to receive the application of the first applicant from this Congress. We have Ms. Gaitari Babu, Chairperson, Standing Committee on Health and Sanitation, Trivandrum Municipal Corporation, Kerala, who signed and submitted her application for the city's Metin Pledge. So the form has been signed, and Ms. Gemma Doble, representing the Zero Waste Cities Network, will receive the application. Thank you so much, Ms. Babu and Ms. Doble, and welcome to the Zero Waste Cities Network, Zero Waste Cities Metin Pledge. We hope to have more city officials join them, and we hope to show that local actions have global impact. Next slide. So with that, thank you, maraming salamat, and have a good afternoon.
You have to be here. Yeah, I have to call you back. So as we approach the conclusion of the Organic Congress, we, oh, hello. Hello. As we approach the conclusion of our Organic Congress, we invite you to join us for the closing ceremony. We once again invite Froilan Grate from Asia Pacific for the turnover ceremony. Froy, over to you.
So as mentioned, we're not closing, we're passing the baton, or in this case, the banner. I would like to invite Nalini, our host for this year's Organic Congress, to come up the stage. Can we give a round of applause to Hasarudala for all the organizing and for hosting us here? For the entire team, thank you so much. They've been an amazing host. So can we ask all the Hasarudala staff to please stand and be recognized? Thank you for all your work. I know it's been several sleepless nights and stressful days, but the good news is you'll pass the stress to someone else this time. Who would host the next Organics Congress? Can you make a guess? Who stepped up? Who volunteered to host the next Organics Congress? I'm happy to share that the next time we'll be gathering, we'll be traveling to Indonesia. So I would like to request, actually, this is just speaky, but I'd like to request the entire contingent of the Indonesia Zero Waste Alliance to please come up the stage and receive the Organics Congress trophy banner from Nalini. All as we, I think aside from the Indians, of course, our local hosts, our Indonesian friends are the biggest contingent. Edel, Edel. Pwede saan yung isa? For photo op, hawakan. Ah, bubuksan din pala. So our goal is 10 years from now, this will be the most well-traveled banner in the world. So again, thank you, India. Hasaruddin.